Next on the news, the Supreme Court finishes its historic session with another key decision about a Trump-era policy at the border. Plus,
those people that were burning inside because of the heat, no water, no food.
We'll speak with the Archbishop of San Antonio about how the church is helping the community after dozens of migrants are found dead in a tractor trailer. Also, a bishop with roots in the Diocese of Brooklyn celebrating a milestone anniversary of his ordination. Plus, a couple married almost 80 years share their story on how faith helped to fuel their epic love story. I'm Christine Persichetti. Current News starts right now. Another win for Catholics at the Supreme Court. On the last day of their session, the justices handed down rulings on two big cases related to climate and immigration. The latter could lead to big changes at the southern U.S. border.
We will not give up.
It's been a controversial policy that's drawn advocates to the border to protest. The Trump-era Remain in Mexico rule allowed Border Patrol to send certain non-Mexican citizens who entered the U.S. back to Mexico instead of detaining them or releasing them into the U.S. while their immigration proceedings played out. On Thursday, the Supreme Court gave President Joe Biden approval to shut the policy down.
They do also hold firm to this notion that administrations are allowed to change their policies when the White House changes hands, and that does trickle down.
U.S. bishops welcomed the ruling, but emphasized that more work still needs to be done, saying in part, while this ruling helps pave the way forward, it does not resolve the ongoing challenges at our country's southwest border. We remain committed to supporting immigration policies that produce more sustainable solutions, respect the God-given dignity of migrants, and better reflect Christ's call to welcome the stranger. The High Court also ruled on another big case. This one curbs the Environmental Protection Agency's ability to broadly regulate carbon emissions from existing power plants.
I, Ketanji Brown Jackson, do solemnly swear.
All this on a historic day at the Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson was sworn in Thursday as the 116th member of the Supreme Court, making her the first black woman to serve on our nation's highest court. This following the retirement of Justice Stephen Breyer. As for the Remain in Mexico policy, Biden had tried to repeal it previously, but was blocked by a lower court. The justices voted 5-4 to side with his administration. A tractor trailer carrying dozens of dead or dying migrants that wound up in San Antonio managed to pass through a checkpoint in the U.S. An Associated Press report citing a U.S. official says the migrants were already in the truck when it passed the checkpoint about 26 miles from Laredo. 53 migrants died in the sweltering heat inside the trailer. 3 people were arrested, including the driver of the truck, in what's being called one of the deadliest migrant incidents in U.S. history. Joining us now to talk about how the church is responding to this tragedy is Archbishop Gustavo Garcia-Siller of the Archdiocese of San Antonio. And Archbishop, thanks for being here. And I know you've been visiting the hospitals to meet with the victims and that you spoke with a young girl from Guatemala. Tell us, how was she and what did she tell you about the horrors she experienced?
According to the nurse, she indicated that she was doing okay. That was with the only one that I was able to converse verbally. Another one, I was able to speak to her, and she was able to react with her eyes and also the tips of her hands. You know, the tips of her fingers, and also trying to talk, but she couldn't because she was hooked to the machines. So the other ones, all of them, they were not conscious.
We're praying for them as well. And unfortunately, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. There have been several smuggling cases. Let's take a look. In 2017, 10 migrants died after being trapped in a truck parked at a San Antonio Walmart. In 2012, 15 died near Goliad. And in 2003, 19 died in Victoria. Why is this still happening?
Well, it is happening because the human dignity of the person is not respected and is not attended to. People who are coming from the South, they are not treated not only fairly, they are not treated as humans. What happened here in that trailer, those people, they were burning inside because of the heat, no water, no food. It's very hard even just to picture what happened inside that box. And for that to happen is because their countries of origin, that they are fleeing from them. The situations are very, very extreme. Then in Mexico with the cartels, and here in the United States, because the organized crime is connected with people in our country.
So there's blame in our country, there's blame in the countries that these migrants are coming from, but what do we do to get things to change?
Well, I think under countries, I don't know. In our country, here in the US, is the law needs to change regarding immigration. The law in the way it is now is wrong, not only broken, is wrong. And the need is a comprehensive immigration reform. And I have been, at least since the 80s, working with immigrants, with refugees, and has not been a change. And so we don't want to change. And we are responsible. I am responsible of what is happening and what happened a few days ago here in San Antonio. I am.
Right. As we just mentioned in the newscast, the Supreme Court handed down a ruling specifically about immigration. They say that President Biden can now end the Remain in Mexico policy. So what effect do you think that would have? Could things get worse at the southern border, or will it help?
Well, it was wrong to send them back there where the organized crime has taken over the border of all the way to the different states like Texas, Arizona, California. And so it was to send them to be killed, to be abused, and with no infrastructure for them to live as humans.
All right, Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller from the Archdiocese of San Antonio, thanks for being with us. We are praying for you and everyone in San Antonio.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
President Biden is calling on Congress to ease rules in the Senate, all to codify Roe v. Wade.
I believe we have to codify Roe v. Wade in the law, and the way to do that is to make sure the Congress votes to do that. And if the filibuster gets in the way, it's like voting rights. It should be, we provide an exception for this.
The president wants to suspend the Senate filibuster rule to codify abortion rights originally established in the 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling. The filibuster is a key procedural hurdle that so far has prevented Senate Democrats from making the decision federal law. Turning to another landmark ruling, New York lawmakers began debating new gun laws on Thursday. This after the Supreme Court gutted the state's century-old handgun licensing law. One provision proposed by Governor Kathy Hochul would ban people from carrying firearms into places of business unless the owners put up signage saying guns are welcome. Lawmakers are also looking to set up new requirements for obtaining a handgun permit, such as mandating 15 hours of in-person firing range training. New York City and state officials are suing 10 gun retailers, accusing them of knowingly selling illegal gun parts that would be turned into untraceable ghost guns. According to the state attorney general, the companies also sold firearms to felons without background checks. The lawsuits are also calling for restitution for gun violence victims. A scary incident at St. Louis Church in Bellevue, Washington, Tuesday after an attacker started smashing the glass front door of the parish center. The masked assailant is seen hurling a rock at the door 3 times and kicking it another 4 times, shattering the glass. The person then took a can of black spray paint and wrote what police are calling anti-Catholic graffiti. The tirade didn't stop there. Another door was smashed, an employee was spray painted, and the statue of Our Lady Undoer of Knots was defaced. The church's pastor estimates the damage at around $10,000. Bellevue police say they have a 31-year-old resident in custody in connection with the crime. Now to some good news from a bishop with roots in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Bishop Kevin Sweeney of the Diocese of Paterson, New Jersey, celebrated his 25th ordination anniversary at the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist Wednesday.
My sisters and brothers, in reflecting on 25 years, if there's one thing I've learned, Jesus is still calling you and me to be that salt.
Bishop Sweeney thanked Bishop Emeritus Nicholas DiMarzio as well as some auxiliary bishops of Brooklyn for helping in his formation. Bishop Sweeney is a Queens native and served in the Diocese of Brooklyn for 23 years before he was ordained a bishop and installed as the shepherd of the Diocese of Paterson 2 years ago. Some future leaders in the Diocese of Brooklyn also celebrating a milestone, 8th grade graduation. The St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Online Academy had its very first graduation ceremony Friday with a guest speaker from Rome, Brother Guy Consolmagno from the Vatican Observatory.
I hope you have a wonderful summer. I hope you have a good time and a chance to see the stars, maybe even stars outside of the city and city lights.
During the online ceremony, each of the 12 graduates offered a cherished memory from their 8th grade year, a wish for their fellow classmates, and a brief look at their high school of choice. The St. Thomas Aquinas Online Catholic Academy is the city's only remote learning option. The virtual kindergarten through 8th grade school is for students across the country. The program first began in September of 2020 after COVID forced students to go remote. Some 2,400 students enrolled. After schools began to open again, the diocese realized the need for this kind of online learning was still there, and so the academy was made permanent. For more information on the academy and to find out how to enroll your child at St. Thomas Aquinas, just go to stacoa.org. And what screams summer more than a good baseball game? Well, at the Maimonides Battle for Brooklyn softball game, they played for a good cause. The match between the cast of The Real Housewives of New Jersey and the Maimonides All-Stars benefited the hospital's breast center. And throwing out the first pitch, Brooklyn's Monsignor David Casado. No word yet on who won the game, but for you reality TV show fans, the game will air on the next season of Real Housewives. And just a reminder that Currents News will be taking a break for the week of 4th of July, but there will still be lots of great programming you don't want to miss, including the Collars versus Scholars baseball game, a special travel show roaming the Eternal City, and the Good News special. Then Currents News will be back with a new show on Monday, July 11th. There's a lot more news headed your way as the war in Ukraine drags on. The country is celebrating a victory over Russia, even though that's not how Moscow sees it. Plus, how teens putting their phones down are actually helping the Ukrainian people. And gas prices are still high, but is that keeping drivers off the road this 4th of July holiday weekend? Russian forces have pulled out of Snake Island in the Black Sea in what's seen as a big win for Ukraine. Military officials from Moscow framed the withdrawal as a goodwill gesture, but the Ukrainian military said the Russians fled the island in 2 speedboats following a barrage of Ukrainian artillery and missile strikes. Ukraine and the West have accused Russia of blockading Ukrainian ports to prevent grain exports, something Russia has denied. Students in the UK are giving up their cell phones for an entire day, all to help the people of Ukraine. Kelsey Gussie has the details on the new challenge by Aid to the Church in Need.
Do you think you could give up your cell phone for 24 hours? That's what students in the United Kingdom are doing to help both Ukrainian refugees and those that are still in the country facing the challenges of the war.
I found was that when things like this happen, Students can sometimes feel a bit overwhelmed and they can think, oh, I can't do anything in the world and I can't make a difference. So the mobile phone challenge is about them saying to them they can do something. So they give up something that's important to them. So there's an element of fasting in there.
Marie Fahy with Aid to the Church in Need has created a challenge to help students get involved in providing relief to Ukraine. For 24 hours, students give up their phones, and every time they think to look at it, they offer a prayer for peace in the world and Ukraine. Students ask their families and friends to sponsor them for this 24-hour fast. And Aid to the Church in Need gives this money directly to Ukrainian parishes to help people pay for food, gas, and other necessities.
It just shows people what's happening, and it helps you to be involved. I love the idea of us as the body of Christ thinking, I'm doing this one tiny little action today by not picking up my phone. I'm going to say a Hail Mary for a sister I've seen on ACN's resources and her work and the people she helps.
Fahy said her inspiration for this challenge came from a Pope John Paul II quote, which says, "Prayer linked to sacrifice is the most powerful force in the world." Some schools have taken the challenge further. Together with Aid to the Church in Need, students from around the world have created 1 to 2 minute prayer videos to pray for those who have left their countries, those who stayed in the war zones, and those who have died.
If our children can see that there are these people under these terrible conditions and their faith is so strong, then why isn't my faith so strong? So actually the persecuted church are helping us as well, and as much as we're helping them. So that's why the prayer always has to be central.
That was Kelsey Gussie reporting. Marie Fahy says this challenge is more than a fast, but a reminder that you're never too young to make a difference in the world. 4th of July is just days away, and some braving the roads can expect some relief at the pump. According to GasBuddy.com, the national average for a gallon of regular fell to $4.85 Thursday. Sadly for New Yorkers, the average for a gallon in the city is sitting right below the $5 mark. But over in New Jersey, a gallon is going for the same as the national average. Nonetheless, the weekend is predicted to set a road trip record. AAA says more Americans will hit the road over the holiday weekend than ever before. And if you're flying, expect those airports to be packed. Meredith Wood has what you need to know before you head out.
Prices are sizzling hot at the gas pump and soaring for air travel. But those high costs aren't expected to keep Americans home this July 4th holiday weekend.
Prices have gone kind of through the roof, but we're still looking at traveler numbers that will be approaching where they were in 2019.
AAA predicts 42 million Americans will take a road trip of 50 miles or more. That's more than ever, and despite gas prices hitting a record in June. And if you're traveling by plane this Independence Day weekend, skies will also be a frenzy. AAA predicting 3.55 million people will travel by air. Still, that's only 7% of expected weekend travelers. That's the lowest share since 2011, when the economy was still rebuilding from the Great Recession. AAA says the lowest average airfare is about 14% more expensive this year compared to 2021, and getting ready for potentially long wait times at the airport.
If you're traveling for the 4th of July, expect things to be chaotic and try to hedge your bets.
Travel experts from Scott's Cheap Flights say it's a sign of a busy, chaotic, expensive summer travel season.
There are fewer planes in the sky. Security lines are stretched both at home and abroad, and folks are really struggling to serve everyone equally.
And it's not just travel that's more expensive. Your July 4th barbecue may also cost you more this year. That's according to an annual survey from the American Farm Bureau Federation, which found the average cost is up 17% this year. I'm Meredith Wood.
For those of you who can't afford to travel this holiday weekend due to inflation and gas prices, don't worry, the tablet has you covered. In this week's paper, you can see places that can spur a spiritual renewal within the state boundaries of New York. Have a devotion to Our Lady of Fatima? Why not visit her national shrine in Lewiston? Or even closer to home, take a trip to St. Patrick's Old Cathedral in Lower Manhattan. There you can see the remains of many legendary characters in the city's earliest history. Or maybe instead you want to settle down with a good book at home. Well, the tablet's summer reading list is out, and it includes more than 100 books recommended by pastors, parishioners, Catholic journalists, and more. So be sure to go to your local church to pick up this paper or subscribe at thetablet.org. Still to come on Currents News, it's the loss of a hero who served his nation. Next, the legacy of the man who was the last surviving Medal of Honor recipient from World War II. And they've been married for almost 8 decades. Next, to how this couple's strong faith was key in their lifetime of love. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. On Wednesday, the world lost a true American hero, the last living Medal of Honor recipient from World War II, Herschel Woody Williams, passed away at the age of 98. The West Virginia native fought at the Battle of Iwo Jima back in 1945 and was personally awarded the Medal of Honor by then-President Harry Truman for his heroic actions there. There are plans for the veteran's body to lie in state at the Capitol in Charleston, and West Virginia's governor offered to hold a state funeral in Williams' honor. And finally, a beautiful love story out of Ohio, where one couple is celebrating 100 years of life and nearly 80 years of being married. Natalie Clark spoke with the husband and wife about the major milestone and the keys to a good marriage.
It was a blessed life.
June and Hubert Malicote were both born in July of 1922 in rural Kentucky, and both eventually moved to Hamilton, Ohio, looking for jobs. An invite to church one evening led Hubert to his future bride.
So we went in, and they were all standing, and right in front of us was a pew full of young girls, and she looked around at me and smiled.
A friendship blossomed and soon turned to love, and the two were married on June 8, 1943. Soon after, Hubert set off to serve our country in World War II. Unknown to June, he was stationed in Honolulu.
One evening I was walking through the commissary, and I saw a grass skirt on the wall, and I thought if I could mail that, it would give her some indication of where I might be.
June received the package in the mail.
In a few weeks, I got back a picture, and I had my own Honolulu girl.
And 2 years later, there she was, his Honolulu girl, the only one there when his train arrived.
As the train stopped, conductor standing beside me said, "She's waiting for you."
The couple settled in Hamilton and share 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren. For them, their faith is strong and love abides.
We've never had a quarrel. We've never had one quarrel.
Hubert says, "Till death do us part," holds strong.
We meant it. It meant something.
100 years full of memories and a lifetime full of love.
Wow, no fights. That's impressive. That was Natalie Clark reporting. When it comes to their success as a couple, Hubert says, you have to find things you have in common. He also emphasized the importance of family. Now, don't forget, Currents News will be taking a break for the week of 4th of July, but there will still be lots of great programming you don't want to miss, including the Collars versus Scholars baseball game, a special travel show, Roaming the Eternal City, and the Good News special. Then Currents News will be back with a new show on Monday, July 11th. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.